I felt ready. I couldn't wait to get into that fight. I was excited to get out, get in there and share the octagon with Jacare. So it was good. And then finally, when we make that walk, it's unbelievable. You know, obviously born and raised here in New York, to walk out into Madison Square Garden, a sold-out crowd, with everybody chanting for me. It's an amazing experience.
Actually, this time I was super emotional, and I sit in between my dad and his parents. So I was hysterical crying this time. The nerves overcame me and I couldn't handle it. And so I didn't really see him walk out this time, but normally, we stand and we cheer and scream to try and release some of that, and I wasn't able to do that this time. So I think it was just all bottled in. And then as soon as he gets into the cage, I'm down, just praying and covering my eyes, because I've yet to watch one of his fights. I've never watched it until it's over. Can't do it.
Third round comes, you know, I already felt his best punches in the first and second, you know. And, you know, a guy like him who's explosive like that, usually you're way safer come third round, you know, because he's exploded so many times, lactic acid starts filling up in the muscles, and you have there's way less danger. So I felt like third round was probably going to be my best round. And I started opening up probably more the third round than even the other two. I hit him with a nice elbow, a switch knee. So I started diversifying my attacks way more. And then it got to the point he was really pressing the action. Obviously, I think he knew he was down 2 rounds. I could have probably skated away and just jabbed and played it safe, but that's not really who I am. I always like to go for the finish, and I wouldn't change that for the world, so I really have no regrets. But he ended up finishing me. He hit me right on the button, right above the temple. I threw a right hand, he threw a right hand, and his landed. And I could just tell you that, I mean, I've been hit with some big shots. I don't even know if that looked or was the biggest shot, but it was on the right spot, because I dropped, and I mean, I remember vaguely trying to grab onto the leg and keep going, but it was definitely the right call to stop the fight.
I saw the replay of it. Like, I don't watch the fight, and I can kind of gauge by my dad and his parents what is going on and how well, you know, he's doing, because they're very loud and cheering the entire time. And then when they go quiet, I know that something didn't go right.
First, it's very surreal. Like, did I really lose this fight? You know, I'm winning this fight. You start thinking, wow, like, I was 2 years ago at in the same venue, almost the same date 2 years before. I was winning the fight 2 rounds to nothing, and I got knocked down in the third round in Madison Square Garden. And I'm just like, this has just happened again. I couldn't believe it. I was obviously devastated. I mean, I did everything right in the training camp. Everything went perfectly right. And I really don't have, there's some things in the fight I wish I would have done, but hindsight's always 20/20. And I went out there and did my best, so I really don't have regrets. But at that moment, it was just hard for me to even talk. I had nothing to say. It took me, I don't even think I said a word to anybody for pretty much the whole night. So the worst thing for me was my kids were sleeping that night, so none of them, I guess, were waking up. But then someone had gone into the room. My sister, I guess, went into the room, was talking to
my mom.
Your mom, and explaining to her that I lost. And my daughter overheard them and woke up. And so when she heard that I guess she kind of heard that I lost, she was like devastated. And I guess she was saying like a prayer for me to win before she fell asleep. And she started like kind of like blaming herself that, you know, she didn't finish her prayer, or yeah, so that was tough. And then she was hysterically crying, refusing to go back to sleep. She wanted me to come to the room and talk to her. And so I went to the room, and that was really hard. You know, obviously it's not her fault, and you know, that's it. She was upset.
I know how hard it was for him just to process everything. And then to switch from like, you know, it being all about him to it being all about her and comforting her and making her feel good about herself, when inside I know he wasn't doing that great. That was just like a crazy ball of emotion. But then I knew the hardest one was gonna be the next morning when our first son woke up. And so my mom called me the next morning, and she's like, you know, he's up and he's asking for you guys, and I don't have the heart to tell him anything, so you need to come. So I went back to the room, and he could just tell by my face, and he just started crying. And he is so connected to this guy. You know, I'm consoling him and I'm like, it's okay, Daddy's good, he's okay. Like, you know, I think he was more anxious too because he wasn't able to see him and see that he physically was okay. So, you know, I want to see my daddy, I want to see my daddy. I'm like, okay, you know, let him rest, he needs to rest, and we will see him when he wakes up. So he's like, you know what, Mom, he doesn't need surgery. I get to be with him today. He's like, it's okay. Daddy's gonna come back and he's gonna fight again and it's gonna be okay. Like that. Like he was able to turn it on. Like, okay, I'm over it. You know, we're gonna move on. I mean, of course, he tells him relentlessly, you lost your last fight. Like he has no like, there's nothing that he has no filter, that boy. But he loves him so much, and he's, you know, he just felt more for Chris than anything. He was like, I feel so bad for Daddy. He works so hard. You know, we see everything that he does, and I wanted this for him. Like, it wasn't even about himself. It was about, at 6 years old, to realize, you know, how hard your dad works. Like, they're amazing kids. I have to trust that he knows his body best, and he knows when he's going to be ready to stop or to keep going. So I just kind of have to buckle down for the ride.
Yeah, it's tough. Like if I got manhandled at all in any of my fights, I'd be like, you know what, I'm not as good as these guys, but I'm fighting the best guys in the world, and I'm beating every single one of them, and then there's a lapse and I lose. So I'm right there. I just have to
figure some stuff out.
Make sure the whole fight goes my way. One punch changes everything, and unfortunately that night wasn't my night, but other than that one punch, I'm very proud of the way I fought. So it was good. I had a lot of support, and life goes on.